This founder believes the world of sports will experience many changes in the next 10 years. He believes that to protect the health and well-being of athletes, team-sanctioned on-field practice time will reduce by 15 to 20% by the year 2025. All the way from the best coast, Jason Robinson and Playbook 5. This founder believes IoT will fundamentally change the way we do fitness and will not just lead to solutions that count reps and steps. All the way from Amsterdam, give it up for Stefan Weiss and Stafford. Thank you, founders, for those introductions. Let's kick it over to our head referee, Nick.
All right, founders, let's get ready to debate. We are in the Sweet 16 for the athlete performance and wearables section. To get started, we'll flip a coin to determine who will kick off the first question. So, Jason, would you like heads or tails?
We'll go with tails.
Tails. It is tails. So, would you like to receive the ball or defer?
I'll defer to the second half of the question.
Great. So, Stefan, you're going to have 45 seconds to answer the original question, and then Jason, you'll follow. You'll have your 45 seconds to counter, and then you can go back and forth with the dialogue. Best of luck to you. If the referee, we could get 10 minutes on the clock, and here's our first question. With athletes' training habits and routines being disrupted under quarantine, what is the best course of action that athletes should take to remain in peak performance with limited resources?
Yeah, cool question. So I think like two things are the key to that question. One is the physical ability, to improve the physical ability the athlete has, in my opinion, and that's what I have experienced over time, track his performance and also his progress, so kind of keep focused on his goals, because you can't measure what you can't improve when you're throughout a process. And also you have to focus on the mental part of the game. So really focusing on the mindfulness and more of a psychological part is really key to kind of take this current situation without competitions and games, to kind of get prepared psychological for the next challenges coming up.
Jason, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think if athletes want to keep their competitive edge over the coronavirus stay-at-home orders, I think what they first need to do is create a goal and a vision for how they see themselves performing when they do get back on the field. From there, they can start to face the realities that we're all facing under stay-at-home orders and start to explore the options that they have at their disposal for bringing them closer to that vision they have on themselves. Ultimately, the way forward is going to be for athletes to adopt new tools, new methodologies, and new ways of experiencing and learning the game in order to become their best version of themselves. So at the end of the day right now, yes, we are at a loss of resources, we're at a loss of face time, but athletes are still going to be expected and they're going to want to perform at a high level when competition does resume.
Stefan, anything to counter on that?
Yeah, I do get the overall picture with the vision of like what yourself or what kind of goals you set. I like that, but I think it's all more on the part of to kind of discipline yourself, to kind of set yourself really hard quantitative goals and keep with those goals and measure yourself against that, because I think that's an athlete has to do it himself, and the best athletes do that, like Cristiano Ronaldo in soccer, are really pushing themselves to the limit. And I think that's where like really world stars are kind of separated from the rest at the end of the day. And I don't think it's that much vision, but like pushing yourself to the edge and measuring yourself up against goals that you set yourself in this situation right now.
Anything to add to that, Jason?
No, well, I agree. I think that obviously athletes do have to have goals and make sure that they're tracking the metrics. I think the tough thing right now, what we're up against, is most athletes are at home. So it's hard to measure yourself up against anyone else, which is normally the case when you're playing in a highly competitive environment. You know, you have your teammates, you have your players, you may have other people that you're engaging with that can help you gain that extra edge. And obviously right now, as we're all alone in our homes, I think athletes are going to have to really focus on what they want to see themselves as, and not focus so much outward, but more inward on what they want to get out of their experience. But other than that, I mean, I agree with what Stefan said, and ultimately we're saying the same thing, which you got to have a goal and you got to have a plan.
All right, on to the next question. What is the best distribution strategy for sports tech hardware products? Is it business to consumer or business to business? If you could please provide some insight maybe on the products that you guys produce and how that pertains to your stance on that question.
Is it my turn?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So we have invented a smart resistance band. So it's a really portable tool that tracks your performance while doing resistance bands training. And we have asked ourselves that same question, going B2B, where it's obviously you have a whole different approach to B2B than to B2C. I think that really depends on which kind of business model you have and which kind of problems you solve. What comes down for us, it's like a broader picture actually, to kind of go like, where's the hardware business going? And I think there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the subscription-based models, where a lot of hardware companies go from only subscription and hardware sales to more subscription sales, to kind of lower their customer acquisition costs and also improve their customer lifetime value.
Jason, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think it really is dependent upon what your product and service is offering, right? And who your initial stakeholder is. For a company like us working with virtual reality, and what I would call and most would call a high-tech solution, it's really tough for us to go after a B2B model with people who, quite frankly, right now we're seeing around the world are having issues just setting up Zoom calls at home for their kids. So for us, the best path, or the path of least resistance rather, is for us to go direct to consumer, put the technology in the hands of people that know how to use it, for one, and also will appreciate the features and the benefits more. So, by going direct to consumer, we put ourselves in a position to have the most impact, but also simultaneously we significantly reduce the adoption cycle that it takes for a user to get to that happy place in the user journey.
Anything else to add, Stefan?
In the end of the day, I think the last question or the last thing that Jason said was really like, how fast can you get these customers to kind of get that wow moment, that to pull them into your product and say like, hey, this is the solution you need. On the other hand, obviously, like on the B2B side, if you're going to, for example, physiotherapists or professional trainers and stuff, they can obviously endorse your product to a broader range of people. The question is obviously, do you solve the problems that physiotherapists have currently, or the professional sports person, athlete, and so on? Or are you solving the consumer, the end consumer's problems actually, and should directly go to them? So this is also our approach, to directly go to the customer and solve their current pressing issues.
All right, on to the next question. So how will the coronavirus affect the sports wearable industry, and any type of bold, interesting insight that you might have on how we can kind of all rebound from this? So how do you think it will impact it, and then what's your bold prediction on how to kind of maintain growth in the industry?
The behavior of the consumer is changing like from one day to the other. Like we see this, people are training at home. They are desperately searching for fitness solutions that they can do anywhere, like at home or on the road or at work. Obviously, they can't do it right now, but you see a dramatic change of consumer behavior. And I don't think, and study has already been establishing this kind of view, that this is going to change within the last 2, 3 or 4 or 5 years. So we will see a dramatic change there, and we also will see a dramatic change in the B2B world, because companies kind of wake up and say like, hey, what's going on there? We can't always be in close contact with our customers. So how do we get all this content that we have online and solve problems of the consumers?
Jason, would you agree or disagree with that?
A little bit of both. I think that, obviously the sports wearables industry is important as it focuses on player performance, but I just think the sports technology industry as a whole is going to be reshaped by the impact of coronavirus. I think we're going to see sports technology transition from what some would call a nice to have industry to now a must have industry. I would correlate it to the medical space where, for a time there were still a lot of people who were keeping their records in file cabinets, and then all of a sudden every medical company and every hospital had to adopt and become a tech company essentially. We're going to see that same kind of growth and impact happen here in the sports market. And I think what it creates is an opportunity for companies like Playbook 5 or companies like Stratford to be able to, one, prove themselves and solve real problems that people are facing today. Like, this is going on right now. People are losing money, people are losing reps, people are losing time right now. So being able to serve those problems today, but also it will create an environment where sports technology companies can accelerate their growth a little bit faster than normal, because everyone is facing these problems. It's not just the pro teams, it's not just your elite colleges, it's everyone down from a 7v7 flag football team onto an intramural adult team. So I think it's going to create more opportunity for all of our companies.
All right, well, that's 10-minute mark, but we actually do have some time for an overtime question. So if you could add some more time to the clock. So final question would be, well, what is your prediction? Will consumers expect new products, or are you going to find integrations with existing products? What's the future if you had to pick a side? New products is the way, or integrations with existing hardware and products? I'll let you start with that, Jason.
Yeah, so this is something that we're tracking closely. One of our advisors is currently working at Fitbit, and we try to keep an eye on what they're doing on the data presentation side. And I think what we're going to see is people are going to want to see their data in one spot. I mean, it's easier on the consumer. It's a lot more, yes, you want to get up and check your things, but you don't want to check in 20 different places for 20 different data points. Anybody that can bring that data to one spot, I think, is going to be serving their end user. And for us, we envision a world where Playbook 5, where potentially an athlete is taking the badges that they earned from studying on Playbook 5 and showcasing that data on their recruiting profile, to show to a scout or a recruit. And also, we're envisioning a world where coaches will have one single dashboard where they can see all the analytics tied to their players' preparation and on-field performance.
Stefan, agree or disagree with that?
So I would say, yes, the ideal setup would be a platform, obviously, where everything is in one place and you have access to the information that you need at that certain time. What we see that we've had so many platform kind of solutions that the consumer actually didn't really adapt to it, because there were just too many functionalities that were kind of like messy in one space and weren't as clear to the consumer as it should have been. So I think it's neither one or the other. It's kind of like the way in between. How can you integrate key information that with your product that the consumer needs, or that adds to the customer experience in the end of the day, where he does get a benefit out of it. So I think it's a tough call up, but I would say it's not the platform kind of style, one size fits all, but more like how can you add to your product and develop from there.
Anything to add to that, Jason?
Yeah, I do actually. So he raises a good point with in regards to just everything being on one space. But one thing I'll also encourage us all to think about is all of our companies, we're specializing in delivering a product and a service that may not be data presentation. It may not be data analytics per se. Yes, we collect data. Yes, we are using the data to improve our users' experience, but the amount of time that it could take us to actually figure out how to present this data the best way to a user, it could potentially move companies, younger companies, startups, people like what we're talking about right now, a little bit off our roadmap. And that can become problematic, because I think we have to ask ourselves, why is the user coming to you? Like, at the end of the day, are they coming to get this experience? Are they coming to get better and improve their performance, or are they coming to you to study their data? If they're not coming to you to study their data, then I think it would make more sense to put that data on platforms where they are already going in search of it. I think about like Huddle's a great example of a company that, you know, is using data to track their players' in-app performance. And if people are already going there, then let's not give them one more hurdle to jump through to get to that wow moment that we mentioned earlier.
Great. Well, that's all the time we have for that. For all those listening, use the hashtag #DebateForCOVID. Let us know who you think won that round. Gentlemen, great debate, and thank you. We'll see you for the judges' preview right now.
And let's introduce our judges. First up, Andre Fluellen, founding member of Beyond the Game Network. Next, Garrett Dickerson, philanthropist and American football tight end for your New York Giants. And lastly, Yanni Hufnagel, founder and CEO of Lemon Perfect, cold-pressed lemon water. Lemons never tasted this good. Let's kick it over to our head referee, Nick.
All right, well, that wraps up an amazing debate between Stefan and Jason. And now we're going to be on to the judges for their analysis and picks. So to lead off this analysis on the athlete performance and wearable section, we'll have Andre provide his insight and picks on this one.
All right, so here we go. All right, so this one was a close one. It's an unfortunate close one. It reminds me like, you know, when you're neck and neck, dude. It's like a Seabiscuit running against the Secretariat. Like, it's that close. And so as I went yesterday, I said something. I said, look, when it's that close, it always depends on which answer I hate the most, more so than which answer I like the most. All right. And so I heard Jason, and everything that Jason said in the first answer was like really, really spot on. Second answer was Stefan. He was spot on in his second answer, but the bonus question is what killed it for one of the guys, because one of the guys didn't answer the question. And that's the thing. That's what drives me crazy, because the question was like, is things right now, especially with COVID, is it going to be more of things that have already been implemented in place to be reintroduced, or is it going to be brand new total things? And Stefan didn't answer the question. I wanted Stefan to win, or Stefan, if I'm saying it wrong, my bad. Stefan or Stefan? Stefan, my bad, Stefan. I wanted you to win, but the last question, you didn't answer the question. You only gave your point of view. And the reason why that's a big deal, because as a startup founder and as a VC, you know, I'm a VC myself, like I want to understand or make sure that the founder can solve the actual problem, right? And not just solve a problem, but the actual problem. So to be able to answer the actual question that was introduced, right, it's a real big deal in terms of, for, you know, from a VC or from looking at a startup founder who can get the job done. So you had all the answers, man. You did everything right leading up to that last question. I wanted you to win so bad, but because you didn't answer the question, man, that's why I had to give it to Jason. My bad, dude.
All right, well, that's one vote for Jason. And Andre, another great commentary. Keep up the great work with that. Now we'll move on to the next pick. So we have Garrett Dickerson. Could you please provide your analysis and your pick on this section?
Right. So I think Andre said it best when it was really neck and neck, and it really did come down to kind of some of the finer details within each question. You know, in that first question, I do agree with Andre. Off the bat, Jason had a great pitch right there, and I do really feel like having a plan throughout this quarantine really will set you up for what you want and need to do. So I really did like Jason's question off the bat. Going into that next one about the distribution, I think everybody's different. You know what I'm saying? You got to look at your company and what you think is best for you. So I feel like, you know, however you decide to distribute your equipment is kind of how you see fit. So I didn't really side with either person on that one. Just kind of figured that whatever was best for whichever company is really what's best for them. You know, then kind of going on to question, that last bonus question, it's kind of like Andre, but I mean, personally, I didn't necessarily agree with either side. I kind of thought that being a consumer and someone that really does use these products in their everyday life, that a new product isn't necessarily something that I'm looking for. I feel like we are creatures of habit, and we are people that are inevitably gonna go back to what we know and what we are comfortable with. So I did kind of feel like a new product and something that you have to relearn isn't necessarily something that will really have such a great impact in the long run. Yes, it might right now because we're in quarantine and you have time to, try new things and experiment with new things. But I feel like once this is all up, people are creatures of habit and are inevitably going to go back to what they know. So, all in all, with that being said, I also had to go with Jason. Congratulations, Jason. I thought you had a great pitch. I just thought that you kind of identified a little bit better with me and kind of laid things out for me a little bit better. But, it was a great competition. Both contestants did fantastic, but inevitably I had to go with Jason.
Thanks for that, Garrett. And that means, Jason, you just got a ticket to the Elite Eight. Congratulations. So before we move on, we still have a final judge. So Yanni, if you wouldn't mind providing your brief analysis on this round and your vote, just to give some more feedback to the founders.
What a great debate. Really good job by both Jason and by Stefan. Awesome back and forth. Ultimately, I give my nod to Jason, although it was very, very close. I liked how Jason answered the question about athletes remaining in peak performance through this period of uncertainty that we're going through. The idea of adapting new tools to work on their game while being at home was great. Really talking about how they see themselves performing when they get back on the court or on the field. I thought that was really well articulated. Nice job, really nice job there. Moving forward, into the conversation deeper about the impact of COVID-19. I really liked how Jason talked about sports technology is now a must-have. And the idea of medical records and doctors' offices now having fully transitioned to an electronic database was really well put as it pertains to new technologies now infiltrating the sports world, and he sees the same type of growth. I will say that Stefan had a really good answer there, and that fitness solutions now have to be for an anywhere opportunity, right? Fitness solutions that can be done anywhere and great customer experience. As it pertains to distribution, I actually, the truth is I probably would have liked both Jason and Stefan to talk a little bit more about B2B business, right? I mean, Playbook 5 to me has a massive opportunity with college football coaches, high school football coaches. Why wouldn't we try to sell the product into an Alabama or to Florida or a Clemson, right? That to me seems like a really, really attractive opportunity. And I would say, Stefan, the same way. I mean, again, as we start to see a return from the dislocation that we've seen in gyms and fitness studios and that sort of thing, why wouldn't we try to sell the Strapper into your fitness studios and your gyms? That seems natural. So, I would say that I like direct-to-consumer businesses, of course, but it seems like both of these products could certainly have a B2B component. Net, great debate. I like Jason's energy, and just probably he gets a slight nod here, but really, really awesome job by both contestants. And we wish them the absolute best of luck as they go and scale their businesses forward.
Got it. Well, thank you for that, Yanni. And Jason, congratulations. great fought out debate right there. Andre, Garrett, and Yanni, I appreciate all the feedback that you're able to give the founders, and congratulations. We're going to be on to the next round for the Elite 8.